As we've been reporting, President Trump is set to dismantle President Obama's environmental regulations meant to combat climate change. The executive order will roll back the Clean Power Plant rule, which is aimed at reducing carbon emissions.
It will also resume coal sales from federal land and lift greenhouse gas limits on power plants. Environmentalists have slammed the measure. One of those critics is Michael Brune, the executive director of the Sierra Club, and he joins us now. Sir, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me on.
What is the most immediate concern right now once this executive order is put into effect?
Well, the biggest concern is that this takes us backwards in terms of fighting climate change right at the time when we're making the most progress that we've made in U.S. history, and we're starting to see clean energy grow and actually grow pretty dramatically. What Trump's order would do is, at least as it relates to the electric sector, is it would allow for power plants to spew almost unlimited amounts of climate pollution. It would unravel the protections that will save billions of dollars and thousands of lives. And in fact, these orders are the largest attack on U.S. climate action in history. And we can't allow it to go forward.
Now, you know the argument on the other side that a lot of these regulations were too fast, too much. They're costing jobs and they're limiting job growth in the future. Do you buy that argument?
No. First of all, these orders took several years to put together. And what they're doing literally is they're shifting U.S. power plants from relying on coal and switching that to clean renewable energy resources, and in the process creating an enormous amount of jobs. One of the fastest growing sectors across the U.S. economy is the solar industry, in part because we're replacing coal with clean energy. Another fast growing sector is the wind industry, again, because we're replacing coal and gas with wind. And so what these regulations do is they limit the amount of air pollution, they limit the amount of water pollution in the air, they give us a chance to fight climate change effectively, and they create good jobs. What Trump's orders will do is it will pad the profits of coal executives. It will allow for the fossil fuel industry to feel a little bit better about their prospects, but it won't reverse the progress that we've made. And we're determined to make sure that plant by plant and state by state, we're making our air and our water and our climate more safe and healthy.
Michael, the United States is still part of the Paris Climate Agreement. More than 100 countries have vowed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. But since this executive order scraps greenhouse gas limits, what does that do to the Paris Agreement?
Well, so the U.S. is still part of the Paris Climate Agreement, which was a landmark agreement primarily because almost every country in the world agreed that climate change is real and that we need to do something about it. Russia, China, Brazil, India, the largest economies across the world, all set standards to limit the amount of carbon pollution in their own economy and to stimulate investment in clean energy. What we need to do is to build on the success that we've had over the last 8 years and continue to replace dirty fuels with clean energy and create more jobs in the process. Unfortunately, President Trump right now doesn't believe that climate change is real. He says it's a hoax. He is in denial of the fact that climate change actually exists. He's also in denial of the fact that clean energy is a job engine. It helps to create a more resilient economy across the country, and it also addresses air and water and climate pollution at the same time.
I think he's sort of come around to at least acknowledging that climate change is something that exists. Though you're right, he did say that it was a hoax at one point. But moving forward, you know the way this administration is going. You know that he's really systematically turning back a lot of the Obama-era regulations in regards to the environment. So what's the plan for the Sierra Club moving forward?
Well, we won't allow these executive orders to go unchallenged. What we know is that Donald Trump's presidency so far is a deeply unpopular one and a highly ineffective one. Just as hundreds of thousands of people rallied to stop the Muslim ban, and just as hundreds of thousands of people rallied to make sure that Trump couldn't take away the health insurance for 24 million people, we'll rally again to make sure that we continue to make progress on climate change, that we continue to invest in clean, renewable energy, and we don't allow for air pollution and water pollution and carbon pollution to increase. We will fight this executive order in the courts, we'll also fight it at the state level, and we'll fight it in the marketplace, and we'll continue to put public pressure on every elected official to make sure that we make progress on climate change and we don't go backwards.
All right, Michael Brune, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.